Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are going over the NHL jersey sales this past year. This is always pretty interesting going into the new year. The NHL releases who are the top selling player jerseys. So you guys know I like talking about the jerseys, so we'll be going over that today. Spoiler alert: Alex Ovechkin is number one. So we'll get that out of the way, but there's way more to this than that. Now, if you look at every year, normally it's the same names. Ovechkin being one of them. And it's kind of interesting because the Capitals kind of had a down year in 2020, or 2021. I'm forgetting what even year it is. He had kind of a down year in 2021, but I think because of his current goal-scoring run, his name is out there a lot, and it's kind of getting to the point where even though he only has one Stanley Cup, everybody's talking about the Great Eight, just how electric he is, how many goals he scores, and that's kind of what this comes down to, is they tend to gravitate toward guys that score a lot of goals. Now, I'm sure there's a real correlation between that. I don't have the exact numbers on that, but you look at most of these guys in the past, in the present, they're goal scorers. They're guys that you want to beat the game, and when somebody scores, you're wearing their jersey. Most of the time, it's going to be those guys, right? Not always. Obviously, you have your goons and your hitters, but for the most part, everybody's picking up the guy that scores the most points, scores the most goals, and normally, it's a couple of these guys. So we're going to get into where everybody stands and stuff. But Ovechkin is one. That wasn't really a surprise to anybody. To round out the top 10, though, I thought was pretty interesting seeing some of the guys from 10 down to probably 6. So 10, actually just staying in there, is Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, I'm surprised he's actually down that low. Patrick Kane has been, if it hasn't been Ovechkin, in terms of pure goal scorer, Patrick Kane is that guy. He has a great release, great shot, but again, his team has definitely dwindled from the success they had back in 2016. So since then, or 2015, it's been that long now. So his name is definitely kind of fallen more under the radar. Yet again, he still has that original 6 logo in front of him, the Blackhawk, right? The Blackhawks jersey, one of the best jerseys in the game. So it's not that surprising, but I'm surprised that he's actually at 10 and not maybe in the top 6 or 7, if I'm going to be honest. At number 9, not a real shocker here, but David Posternock of the Bruins. Again, what did I talk about? Goal scorers. That's what we're talking about here with David Pasternak. The exact same thing. So it's not that big of a surprise. He does have a personality. He had that big Dunkin' Donuts commercial that was very popular, the penalty box commercial. He actually got in the penalty box during one of those commercials, right? So that was kind of his reign to fame, and that's probably part of the reason he was able to get into the top 10. Nothing against Pasternak as a player, but that definitely probably drew more eyes to him individually as a player in 2021. Number 8 here has me a little bit surprised because, again, kind of like Patrick Kane, you could argue that Nathan McKinnon is probably a top 5 player in the NHL. And the fact that he's at number 8 kind of surprises me just a little bit. Again, you want to talk about just pure skill and talent. Again, top 5 player in the NHL. So it's kind of weird to see him all the way here at number 8. Number 29 of the Colorado Avalanche does have some competition. So if you're an Avalanche fan, you're not just buying a Nathan McKinnon jersey. You could be buying the captain, Gabriel Landeskog. You could be getting a Mikko Rantanen jersey. You could argue for all 3 of those guys, but you know Nathan McKinnon is that guy. So it's kind of surprising to see him again at number 8 here and not maybe higher up. And maybe even the next couple of guys I'm going to talk about. And that's why we get to number 7. And this one isn't too shocking, especially with how the 2021 playoffs went for the Montreal Canadiens. Carrie Price is knocking on the door here inside the top 5. He's at number 7 here. Carrie Price, again, with everything that happened with Carrie Price, the fan base of the Montreal Canadiens, it was hard not to get some hype sauce from what we saw from Carrie Price and the Montreal Canadiens. I'm more surprised Nick Suzuki isn't in this mix. Oh my goodness. I'm more surprised Nick Suzuki isn't in this mix. But Carrie Price is there. And obviously he's dealt with a lot of injuries and stuff. But to this point, we all know he is still the face of the franchise in Montreal. So it's not that big of a surprise. But this is also the first non-real quote-unquote goal scorer we're seeing on the list here at number 7, the goalie of the Habs. Now, number 6. Now, this is one of 2 times where we see 2 players from the same team cracking the top 10. And we're heading back to Boston at 6. It's Patrice Bergeron. Patrice Bergeron has been a great center in the NHL. And not known for his production necessarily. He's actually had a very slow start to this current season we're in now, the 2021-22 season. So, again, more of I think some of it may come down to maybe the amount of players that the Bruins have been kind of hemorrhaging. Core players, veterans on this team they've been losing. Tuukka Rask left. Sounds like he may be coming back in the fold, but Tuukka Rask left. Zdeno Chara has left over the past couple of years. Torrey Krug, right? Torrey Krug left. And David Krejci being another one. So, and this isn't just Bruins fans, but a lot of Bruins fans may have bought new jerseys. They had a good playoff run in 2021 for the most part. And they needed new jerseys. Why not get Pasta and Bergeron? And again, kind of the brand recognition. Patrice Bergeron has his own brand of his own outside of the Bruins. So if he were to go to another organization, it wouldn't necessarily be too hard for him to kind of have that name recognition. And again, I'm a little surprised he's at 6 here. I thought he would be a little bit lower than, say, a McKinnon or a Patrick Kane. But again, that just shows you the amount of respect NHL fans have toward a guy like Bergeron. I can tell you right now, I have a Patrice Bergeron jersey in there. So I do understand where that comes from. At number 5, now we get into the top 5 here. Connor McDavid at 5. So the best player in the NHL, you could argue, at number 5. Now, I thought that was interesting. Again, kind of weird how that played out. The Oilers haven't been doing well in terms of the postseason. So when the lights are brightest, the lights are off in Edmonton. So it's hard for them to get that kind of that drag and that aura because he's not necessarily playing in the playoffs. Same thing for Leon Draisaitl, right? Kind of the same argument. You could argue he could be in this list too, but because of the lack of success that the team has had in postseason play, when a lot of people are watching them nationally, it's hard to root on players that are too busy getting ready for the offseason, right? Now we get into our top 4. We're heading up to Toronto at 4. It's Austin Matthews. So Austin Matthews, I'm not surprised here one bit. The Leaf fans, very devoted fan base, and everybody wants a Leaf jersey, right? Let's be honest. Unless you're, well, maybe not. Maybe it's a little more surprising, but I know there's a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans and a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans throughout Canada, whether you're in the western provinces, whether you're in Manitoba, yes, even in Winnipeg country, you're not exempt from being a Leafs fan. So that is why I understand where he's at. He had a great season last year, following that up right now with a great season, and he has that recognition, right? So, and especially in Canada, they play a lot of Leafs games, so that is to be expected. Now, this one surprises me because of how high up he is, considering, I mean, he's a good player, but at number 3 here is the other Blackhawk, other than Patrick Kane, it's Marc-Andre Fleury, Flower. Now, I know Flower has touched the hearts of lots of people in the NHL, so I understand where this is to some extent, But for a guy that seems like kind of a temporary solution for the Blackhawks in between the pipes, it's interesting to see him ahead of Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon. That does surprise me. And I think that just shows you whether it's Golden Knights fans that bought the flower jersey because they're just cheering him on in Chicago, or all the Blackhawks fans that bought into Fleury coming into Chicago when he first did. I think it's a combination of both. And that was a big name thing that happened this summer. The way he was kind of dealt out of Vegas and how cutthroat things were at the end of his journey there, and how things kind of started this year for him. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of hype going into the year about Marc-Andre Fleury helping turn around the Blackhawks. Maybe a little bit slower progression from how the season started, right, than I think the Blackhawks had expected. But that was a pretty big selling jersey, and it surprised me. Again, maybe not that he was in this list, but the fact he was ahead of some of these guys. Like I said, McKinnon, McDavid, and Matthews. That's pretty insane. That just shows you the draw and the aura of Marc-Andre Fleury. Have to give respect to that, absolutely. Now, speaking of a former teammate of Marc-Andre Fleury, we're heading at number 2. This one isn't going to surprise nobody. At number 2 is Sidney Crosby. And Sidney Crosby, for all intents, he didn't play to start this 21-22 season, and his jersey still sold really well. We know Sidney Crosby has that tag as the best the best player in his generation. Alex Ovechkin may have something to say about that. But it's obvious the debate between these two guys is still there. And I think a lot of it comes down to the experience they have in the league over guys like McDavid and McKinnon and Matthews. It shows because these are, throughout a long stretch of hockey fans, this is all they've known is an NHL with Ovechkin and Crosby. And me included in that. I am included in that. And to be honest, as an Islanders fan in the Metropolitan Division, where my team plays them both an awful lot, I'll be sending them, I'll be sending them away as well, because I'll be like, okay, bye-bye. Now it's time for the Islanders to get their share, right? Because these two teams have dominated their divisions, and really the NHL dominated the NHL at points. So it just continues the debate between Crosby and Ovechkin. But this year, in terms of jersey sales, again, depending on how things go in 2022, in terms of the playoffs, Ovechkin has won the last of, the most recent of the kind of Ovechkin versus Crosby saga. We've seen it for years. Crosby has 4 cup rings, or 3 cup rings. Ovechkin has 1. Jersey sales, Crosby has been pretty dominant for the most part in terms of that. You look at the last couple years, it was Crosby first, Matthews, Kane, Taves, McDavid. McDavid, Lundqvist was on there. Ovechkin was all the way down. I was going to say fittingly at 8, but he's at 7. Tarasenko, Giroux. You'll never believe this name. Shane Gostisbehere. Wow, look how things kind of changed with that. But this was just a few years ago. This was still under the Reebok NHL tag. So just a few seasons, you see how much this changes. But there are still plenty of names that are still there. Like I said, Crosby, Matthews, Kane, McDavid, Ovechkin. 6 of those top 10 guys are still there. And, some of them are retired, like Lundqvist. So I don't think it's an accident. You look at original 6 franchises, the Blackhawks, the Leafs, the Rangers, the Bruins, the Canadiens. That's not by accident, right? And I'm expecting within the next year or two, one of those superstar Red Wings to be on that list too. Whether it's a Dylan Larkin, whether it's a Lucas Raymond, or a Mort Cedar, one of those guys will eventually fall into that category as well. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you have any of these jerseys in this top 10 list? Let me know which ones you have, how many of them you have. If you're going to add any of them, if you don't have any, which one would you get? I can say, honestly, I have a Ovechkin and a Bergeron. And everybody else, I don't have. I do have a Marc-Andre Fleury, but it's from Vegas, so I'm not counting that. But technically, I have 2. Second thought, I do have 3. I do have a McKinnon, so I do have 3. Okay, that's it, guys. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, you want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time.